Hello all, and welcome back to a very wet and miserable day here on High Ridge Farm. Of course, the wonderful joy that is all this rain means that I don't have to worry about watering any of the crops. Thankfully, though, I've already sort of sorted that out with the fact that I have all the sprinkler systems, so kind of a moot point. Other than I'm sure I've got one or two crops that I planted in really stupid, bizarre locations. I mean, this is me after all, and I am an idiot. Now, of course, on today's episode, being that it is the wonderful joys of Monday, we have a few important things that we need to try to do. One of which, make as much money as possible. I mean, to be fair, that's kind of my goal generally, isn't it? And I just need to have a check and see about smelting a large quantity of resources. I want to be able to make more kegs, so I'm going to need more copper, and I'm going to need more iron. They're my two primary focuses. I need to make sure that I have some melons. Now, that one seems bizarre, but I've got a couple of cooking recipes that I know that I haven't made yet, such as the fruit salad, that require melon. And I think I also need an artichoke for one of the other food recipes. Most of these crops that I'm growing at the moment are going to go into the pickling shed. And in the pickling shed, of course, that's where all of the, the preserve jars are going to be made. Well, going to be located. And in there, I do believe a secondary pickling shed is going to be kind of important, as the production rate that I have, both on Ginger Island and here, far outstrips what I can produce as the pickling rate. And as you can see here, I've got a lot of veg already here. And I think more of those jars are going to be needed, which unfortunately means I might not want to make the wine and beer making kegs. I need these preserves jars, which unfortunately means that's stacks of 8 coal. And coal is an absolute swine, because of course I need as much of it as physically possible. And unfortunately, it has the wonderful joy of being not something that you can easily and reliably get. As stupid as that very well may sound, it's not something that you can acquire very quickly or naturally, almost in a sense. And that's going to be frustrating, because of course that's what I need. So that's going to be fun, isn't it? Right, so considering that's what I need to do now, I'm going to have to start musing about what other resources that I need to actually, well, make it. Of course, it's wood and stone, I believe, and coal, so they're not too overly difficult to make. It's just annoying I'm going to have to. Not really got any choice in this one, unfortunately, but I'll stop whinging soon enough, don't worry. So, I'm going to quickly grab these seeds and get those planted. I think I'm also going to want to plant a lot more just generally on Ginger Island, because I still need to work through the resources that are there as a kind of a given, really, and figure out what other things that I want to put there. Again, it might sound bizarre, but I'm trying to figure out what other things could be grown on Ginger Island to actually make it an effective and more useful resource generator for me. And I do think that the constantly harvestables, such as what I'm growing there, like at the moment, like with corn and blueberries and cranberries, and those sorts of things are going to be particularly helpful to generally have, but there are other options. And that's something I'm going to have to consider. So, that's kind of a musings point on that one, at least. So, we'll have a think. We might figure out something more useful, maybe? Okay, so we're going to grab that hop. So, as you can see, I've got lots of melons growing anyway, so that's nice and all. But it's just trying to figure out what other things could work in my favour. Okay, so I'm going to grab these fishable fish. Well, I say fishable fish, the harvestable fish, because they're there and they need grabbing. What next? To be fair, that's the next major question generally, isn't it? What next? Let me have a think. Well, we've had our first ostrich hatch, which is great, and I feel that in good form I have named it after my first Patreon subscriber. So it is named Wolf, and with an E. So it could be Wolfie, but I'm assuming Wolf. And I feel that that might actually have to be the tiers that I end up organising for my tiers of Patreons, as well, makes perfect sense, right? Why not have a good, respectable view of people who subscribe? But anyway, so before I start rambling on, because I am very much prone to doing so on bizarre topics that make no sense. Again, look at all these pickled things that need to be harvested. So there's an absolute truckload of them. So we'll get rid of those, and that'll be fine. And what next, though? I guess that's the big question. I'm going to put all the things that I've got a smaller number of. I think that's probably my most sensible plan at this point. Because that way I can kind of ensure that stuff gets done. And I remove some of the crops that I don't need or are kind of just taking up space for me at the moment. Because there are going to be quite a few, unfortunately, that just are taking up lots of space, unfortunately. And having smaller in number ones, I can throw them away, not away specifically, but, you know, throw them into the grinder, almost. But I'm making lots of blueberry jelly, because I've got loads of blueberries from my adventures down on Ginger Island, which, you know, is a kind of a regular thing, I think. And the harvesting of the blueberries is going to be quite a quick, easy thing to sort out. Hopefully being the operative word here, we can end up with a greater deal of space kind of opened up. Otherwise, I am going to have to put some in another chest, and I think that might have to be the one in the winemaking shed. I'd rather not, but it's probably going to have to be where it goes for now. Okay. What next? I think that's the next sort of like the big question for me usually, is like, what on earth am I even doing? And how am I going to do it? So, let's see what we can figure out here. Well, throw all of that away because we don't need it. It'll be sold, and that's kind of the important thing right now. And then into here again, and well, I've got those fish that I'm gonna probably just gonna sell. Or do I want to turn them into fertilizer? What's going to be the most? I mean, sadly enough, I think turning them into fertilizer is probably going to be more useful. Especially since we are already into week 3. So the fall season will be coming along a lot faster than I'd like. And there are a couple of recipes that I still don't know. And that's worrying me a little bit. Because I think they're recipes I might have missed seeing on the TV. Because I believe I actually have every recipe that is available from the townsfolk, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm concerned if that is the case, because that might be something that requires me to wait until year 2 rolls around, which will be year 4, which I don't want to do. I want to make sure I have everything sorted. As I mentioned previously, I want to ensure that I achieve perfection by the end of year 3. It is a goal, it is a task, and it is what I am going to achieve. So hopefully, I won't have to worry. Right, well, let's teleport back up to the top of the farm, and we will sort out some other gubbins, because that's kind of what we need to do right now. Ooh, goodness gracious. Got lots of, umming and ahhing, I think, is the short answer to that one. Now, I feel that maybe reorganizing a little bit of the space in the storage chests might not be a terrible shout, moving forward. There's a lot of stuff in them that kind of needs organising. And that's not like the end of the world, but it is a thing that I do need to potentially do. And I kind of need to figure that one out. So I'm going to have a look and see what makes sense to me on that sort of front. So let's have a look and see then. Ho hum, ho hum. Well, I guess that I'm going to have a think anyway. So I'm going to grab these shells. Now, I'm trying to debate, is there anything else that I want to kind of grab whilst I'm around and about? Like, do I want to get more, what are they called? You know when you have a brain fart and it really frustrates you? It's just like, oh goodness, I feel particularly stupid right now because my brain's just gone, no. Yeah, no, what I was thinking is that I do want to catch a few more fish. There are a few specific ones I want to try to catch, but I'm going to probably spend the next little bit of in-game daying trying to catch myself a fish. Or 5. So hopefully this goes okay. Now, of course, there are a number of other useful fish that can be caught, and I've got a reasonable idea of what I'm trying to do at the moment. So, you know, it might work out okay. Hopefully. Hopefully it does. That's kind of the big, the main draw I've got here, is hopefully this all works out okay. So let's see how well this goes. Goodness gracious, this is taking a while. It's probably because I don't have an actual like lure or anything on my hook, on my rod. I've just got bait, and that's something I probably need to make another one of, like a decent lure to try to catch some more fish. Not the end of the world in levels of difficulty. It's just annoying. That's something that I'm going to have to do. Nah, well, I'll live. So let's see what we can do here. Yeah, I guess that's the next question, isn't it, really? What's going to be the next most sensible plan? Well, I think this is a sea cucumber. Because this thing is fighting hard. Oh, go away, silly sea cucumber. Just get on the line and stay on the line. Be caught, you swine. That's exactly what I need you to do. I need you to be caught and stay on the line. Thank you. Okay. Well, we're getting a bit later now. I probably should make my way back home soon enough. I mean, I know I've got the ability to teleport home, so I don't really need to fret. Which is kind of a blessing. Because I don't really like having to worry about what's going on. There we go. So, I've caught all the fish that were required of me. And yes, it did eat up a bunch of time, which I will shamelessly admit. I actually cut out 12 minutes of footage there. Because talking about catching fish for 12 minutes isn't the most thrilling of things, I'm afraid. Well, I personally wouldn't consider it the most thrilling of things. Whether that is a very different question, I feel. But I don't think, honestly, I could say that it's probably that exciting. All the same. Yeah, anyway. So, we've got all of these. I've just sold a bunch of the miscellaneous resources that I don't really need. Because, at the same time, there's not really a problem me not having a bunch of the gemstones. I've kept the amethysts because they're useful for 3 different people. For when it comes to friendship gifts, so it's very useful for Emily, it's very useful for Abigail, and it's also quite useful for the dwarf. So that's 3 individuals who can be gifted a good, useful thing, in the sense of, like, they both are lovers. No, I say both. They're all lovers of an amethyst, which, you know, that's important. I want to make sure that people receive the gifts they like, because that's nice and all, I think. But yeah, what's going to be the next major plan, I think? That's going to be the next sort of thing. Now, I'm going to grab all these ancient fruit. They're going to get put into the winemaking facility. And that's really going to be where I'm going to be slapping things for the time being. As making sure that I have a decent amount of ancient fruit wine going through is going to be handy. I'm going to sell the starfruit wine that I've got because, again, there's not much point in me having it. And I might sell excess stocks of ancient fruit wine because although it's useful, it's not hypercritical. As very silly as that might very well sound, I've got enough to age. Definitely. And I don't think it's going to be particularly useful to me if I have to worry too much about it. So I'm kind of considering that one at least. So let's see how well we can do on this one then. Well, I guess that's the next question, isn't it? What am I going to do next, and where am I going to put things? Well, I've got some more of the quartz, which is good, and I'm going to just smelt some more stuff. Now, I know I've already mentioned that actually I probably think I need more of the pickling shed bits, which, in honesty, is probably what I need to do next. I think that's really where I kind of need to look towards. And frustratingly, I've not really done that. But let's have a quick check and see what's on the living off the land. Got a spa, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't mean to tune into the fishing channel, but here we are anyway. We have our fishing channel, and it's telling us some things about fish. Goody, goody gumdrops. Ah, well. So, let's see, what can we do? Well, we made a reasonable amount of money. Yeah, of course, there's more to be made. There always is. There's always more money to be made, and that's kind of a thing, isn't it? Okay. So, my lovely dear wife, I have plans for the day. Well, give you a kiss, because I feel that that is very important. And, you know, be nice, kiss your wife, say hello. Be lovely. Don't be terrible. Perfectly legitimate, right? But yes, that's kind of what I've got to sort of think about at the moment, isn't it? Okay. Well, I'm going to quickly cook a couple of things, I think. Is there anything that I could cook that will help me with my plans for the day? I think that's really the biggest question. I'm not sure that there is, to be fair. Sadly. Let's us think. I can make a bruschetta, but it's not really super potent or anything. It's just a good stopgap for resources. I mean, not the resources, sorry. Stopgap for your energy, I guess. Roasted hazelnuts, on the other hand. Those are going to be useful because I know that they are a fond favourite of the ever-illustrious Kent. And Kent is someone I need to improve my general friendship with because I'm friends with him, but not like really super good friends with him. So I think that's going to be kind of a major next point for me, actually. I mean, that would make sense to be, I think. I think that's going to be the next major thing, isn't it? I've kind of got to figure out what's going to work out best for me at any point. And improving the relationships with all of the other villagers is a major point for me. Because I do want to make sure that my general friendships are improved, because I do need to have, of course, a positive, like the 10-star relationship with every villager to achieve perfection. And annoyingly, that is not the easiest thing to kind of achieve. It's somewhat frustrating, to be fair. So that's something I'm going to have to think about. How I'm going to do it, I don't know. But it's going to have to get done. All the same, I mean, I've got a golden coconut. I can crack that open and see what happens. Right, I'm just going to eat this good old spicy eel. Because spicy eel is delicious. And hopefully we get something a little bit more fantastic. And we can see how well that goes. What else can we do here? I guess that's the next question, isn't it? What else can we sort out on the farm today? I know today's going to be a little bit more of a focus upon the general farming and making sure that stuff gets done. Because, well, there's a lot to be done, in all fairness. And a lot of it, unfortunately, is making sure that the farm gets managed well. Now, let's just dump all of that in there. I think I might sell some of those batteries. I mean, do I really need that many? I do have a silly amount of them, don't I? Like, a genuinely silly amount of batteries. Which might not really be the worst thing in the world, but I don't really need that many of them. All the same. That's something I need to actually think about and figure out, isn't it? Oh well. Right. Ho-hum, ho-hum. I'm still debating about the... it's not super complex as a sort of a difficulty of things to figure out, but I do want to make sure that I sort out the sap issue. And I know that's going to require me to do some more tests. Now, I think I'm going to plant a bunch of crops on Ginger Island as my test bed platform, essentially, because that way I can use Ginger Island as essentially just a source of curiosity in a, is this going to work? And if it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, then that's a shame. So me giving that a try is probably going to be the best plan I've kind of got at the moment. So yeah. I do want to get that done though. So let's have a look and see what can I actually do. Because figuring that out is probably going to be the most useful thing for me at this point in time. But alas. Now, got all those starfruit seeds in here that I'm going to go and plant elsewhere on the farm. Now, oh goodness gracious, look at all that ancient fruit wine. Fantastic. Everyone loves a good old bit of wine. It's always glorious, it's always useful, and we always want more of it. Because, why would you not want more wine? And also, like, I'd be genuinely curious what an ancient fruit is supposed to represent. Like, I know that there are, obviously, all the different fruits in the game, and some of them are a little bit more like, obvious that, yeah, okay, that's a thing. I mean, most of them are real things. And at the same time, like, I'd be curious to see what some of these things that I can make on the farm actually taste like. I mean, I know that I enjoy pickled food, as I've mentioned previously, and I very much enjoy pickled cabbages. I enjoy pickled pickled onions and things like that. Now, onions! You can't grow onions, can you? That's weird. I genuinely find that weird, that you can't grow onions. I mean, unless I'm going insane and you actually can, and I've just not noticed that you can. Genuinely don't think you can grow onions, can you? I mean, okay, theoretically you can find leeks, which are a type of onion, but not actual onions. Wonder why that is. Well, before I go off on an existential crisis about onions, Let's have a think. Because yes, I am prone to doing existential crises about crops. I mean, I know I'm an idiot, so don't worry. I'm painfully, painfully aware. So let's see. What else can we think about here? Well, at least I'm going to replant some more of the starfruit here, because I've got lots of that. That needs to be replanted, and it's the joys of the mixture of coffee, well, espresso specifically, and large quantities of oh goodness, spicy eel for the speed boost. Because again, the speed boost foods are phenomenally useful for actually just getting about. And I think that's kind of an important aspect that maybe I've neglected a lot previously. I've not really paid as much attention as I probably should have to food that can improve my stats and abilities. Because at the same time, improving my farming hasn't really been a focus. I've thought, oh no, I'll be fine. I don't need a food that improves my farming ability. And actually, with the benefits of hindsight, I'm going, well, actually, that might have been a good thing to have. Why have I not focused on that? And is there anything that I can do that would improve that? I guess that's a genuine consideration for me at the moment, is there anything else that I could do that would actually be, well, beneficial to me? Because there are quite a few ideas that I've got. Whether they're good ideas, very, very different question. But, you know, there are some ideas I have, and perhaps I should probably look at them with a little bit more of a discerning eye. Anyway, so we're going to chuck these starfruit into the winemaking shed, and then we're going to be mostly pretty much ready to go with, well, like I say, the winemaking ability, and we can hopefully get some good results from that. And again, that's kind of the big aim here, is I want to make sure that I have a particularly profitable end result. So hopefully we can get something good out of this. Now, what else am I going to reorganize here? So I'm going to have to redistribute these sheds. Now that I've upgraded the final big shed, it's going to have something in it. It currently doesn't actually have anything in it at all, which is a bit lazy, I will admit. So it needs to be done. It very much needs to be worked on. So what else can we sort of work out on this one? Really, I guess the question is there anything else I can work out on this one? Well, all the same, we're going to just quickly redistribute what's in here, put the truffle oil away, and I know that could probably get sold, and I think a couple of other items can probably end up actually in the farm itself, like in the kitchen area, more so. As well, there's lots of foodstuffs that I could probably grow, which would be good for just generally important, useful stuff. Now that is quite cute. Haley is very happy that this is now her home. Now I can kind of get it, because I will shamelessly admit, when I moved out of my parents' home and I ended up in the house that I'm currently in, because like most millennials, I spent a small amount of time back at my parents' after education and other miscellaneous adventures, such as going and living in the United States. And as part of that, I greatly appreciate the freedom and space that I have in my own home. Because, my goodness, having extra room that you can dictate what you do with is phenomenal. At the same time, however, that does also then come with the wonderful joy of you've got to clean it yourself, you have to maintain it all yourself, and, well, yeah. And I'm never going to deny that I'm a lazy man, because I know I am. And, yeah, I'm not saying I had that many issues with, you know, trying to keep up appearances. But sometimes I have gone, what am I doing? And just had one of those catastrophic brain farts and going, you know what, I really need to actually organise my house better. And, yeah, if you think that I'm, obviously my scatterbrained farm is any indication, that should probably give you some idea of how scatterbrained my actual house is. Okay, so here we are back on Ginger Island. So I haven't visited in a couple of days, so we've got a couple of days worth of bananas and mangoes. We haven't got any other major fruit croppage growing, so I did move the sprinkler last time we were here, because I realised that I'd placed it in a really dumb place in that it wasn't doing anything. And yes, I feel particularly dense for that. And, you know, rightly so. It was stupid that I hadn't actually done that properly. And, yeah, I'm kind of glad that that's no longer an issue. Still feel dense, though. Understandably. Okay. So I'm going to cut down a bunch of trees. Going to try and aim for sap again. And I think I'm going to turn the wood into charcoal. There's no other, like, major clever use for it. I think just it needs to be turned to charcoal. Just literally no other choice on this one. I need to make charcoal. Because I'm going to need, goodness, 80 wood to make one new of the doodobbery thingies. You know, the very technical term I've just used there, the preserve jar. So you can see I've got quite a lot here. The great friend, 76%, so 24% of people aren't my great friend. That needs to change. Very much does it need to change. So that's going to be a consideration. And how am I going to achieve it? I think that's really what I can boil this all down to, is what am I going to do and how is it going to work? And, yeah. So let's see what else can we figure out here. So I'm going to cut down these and get some coal. That's nice. Always happy to get some more of that. But what else can I do? I mean, hopefully something vaguely clever. Well, I think maybe exploring the volcano a little bit again, just because I want some more of the cinder shards. But picking up that next quest from Mr. Key with loved gifts. Now, that's not silly difficult, because I've got a week to do it. But the thing that stresses me out slightly is I need to figure out, how am I going to do this? Now, who's going to get what gifts, and, well, how is it going to work out for me? Because there's got to be a good way for me to figure this out. I mean, one would hope, at least, that I can figure out a good way of generating enough giftable items. So, I say enough giftable items. So, things like, I mean, the people like Kent are an example. I know he likes roasted hazelnuts. That's easy. I've got a bunch of hazelnuts. That's fine. But other people, though, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. How am I going to get them on board? And how am I going to give them the gifts that they like? Now, of course, people like Abigail and the dwarf, they're easy. As I discussed earlier, they like amethysts. And that's not a problem. It's just going to be everyone else. Honestly. So, let's see what we can figure out with this one. Hopefully something clever. Genuinely, I hope I can figure out something clever. Because, yeah, I want to make sure I end up with a good amount of resources that I can gift to people. As again, I want to make sure that people are happy with me, and I need to achieve as many of these things with Mr. Key as possible. And I know that some of them are more fiddly than others. And I think that's the big kind of the quandary for me is, who do I give gifts to? Who's going to be the easiest to give gifts to? And then what next? Because Mr. Key's quests are handy. I mean, I've now purchased all the recipes that he offers, so for things to make, which is good. So I've got that kind of under wraps. But what else can I figure out that would work well for me in actually making a decent go of it? And that's the question. Now, all of this fibre. Now, I do want this because I want the tree fertilizer. I planted a bunch of the mahogany seeds on the farm, and this is going to be my test bed. Now, I mentioned it previously. My theoretical idea is, I believe that if I use a tapper on a mahogany tree, it will only give me a single sap every day. I'm going to put a regular tapper on 1 or 2, and I'm going to put a super tapper, a heavy tapper, whatever you want to call the damn thing, onto the other ones, because I need to know how good is it going to be. And if I can figure this out and get something particularly good out of this, and because if this can then be a sap generation machine, then I will be in a very good place. Because I know other sap generation can be from slimes, but I don't really feel like using slimes as a sap generation. It's not my intention, really. I've got other grander plans. I mean, I've got the plans. Whether they're actually going to come true, very, very different question. Okay, so I'm going to slap those down there. I'm going to attack them with with the tree fertilizer, and kind of hope for the best on this one. Because yeah, that's the plan here. That is genuinely the plan of action. We've got things to put down and kind of gotta hope. Unfortunately, yeah. Let's see how this goes. Well, is there anything that I want to essentially send home? Nothing's really coming to mind, really, is it? But let's just slap some things down and kind of hope for the best. Okay. So we're going to put that there. Well, I've got some bombs. That might be useful, I guess. Again, the bombs themselves, they're going to be more handy later on, because being able to bomb things to actually, particularly when it comes to the rock formations and such elsewhere, that's going to be a thing, but that's not my big ideal right now. Oh, come on. Let's organise that. Well, we're coming up towards the end of our video here today. Again, thank you very much for all of you for tuning in. Thank you very much for the person who actually said to me in real life, when's the next video out? Because that did genuinely make me feel pretty good. I will shamelessly admit that. Totally not an attention-seeking whore. Honest. But, yes. Essentially, my schedule for trying to release these is I want to release them 3 a week. That's genuinely my attempt. Once that's, you know, if I can keep that up, then I'll be very pleased with myself. And being able to release these 3 a week, I want to try and have one out on Monday, one on Wednesday or Thursday, and then one closer to the end of the week, on Saturday or Sunday. But I shall bid you all a very fond farewell. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and thank you once again for tuning in to the Walrus Plays Stardew Valley.